That's what you should try and do. It's not realistic that clients are going to come into your office and tell you the truth the first time they see you. That's just not realistic. I had one paralegal, I think, tell me somewhere within the last couple of months that their law firm has a standard contract letter with a client that says if you are not truthful or candid or honest with us, we reserve the right to not represent you anymore. Well, you know, if they enforced that literally, they wouldn't have any clients. Because very few clients walk in the first day and unload themselves and are totally honest and truthful. They may not lie, but they may withhold information or evidence. It may take several trips. And so, sort of laughingly, I asked the person who told me this whether or not the law firm had a similar sentence in their contract letter that promised to the client that they would in fact be truthful and honest with them and would treat them with respect, and if they did not, the client could fire them. Well, of course, there is no such letter, no such sentence in the contract letter. Firms don't do that, or lawyers don't do that. But you want to treat the client as though you want to be treated, how you would want your children to be treated. You know, just last week, I was doing a program in Raleigh, and a lady spoke to me at lunch about her grandson and an issue he was having. And they had a lawyer out of town, and they were happy with the lawyer, but not excited, but happy, okay. And they were wondering whether or not the most that could be done for this grandson was in fact being done. So they were considering hiring another lawyer. What they wanted was, they wanted the very best for their grandson. They wanted things to be handled appropriately and well, is what they wanted. They didn't want any shortcuts around that. If you are the paralegal or the lawyer, the smartest thing you can do is have this standard. If that were my son or child, or that were me, would I do things differently? Whatever the answer to that is, use that as your standard for how you want to treat folks. You know, people want empathy. They want hope. They want to walk out of your law office feeling better than when they walked in. I've often thought that one of the best ways to judge what is a good lawyer from a great lawyer is whether or not the client situation has improved since the client first came to see you. Your job, your responsibility is to make the client situation better at the end than it was at the beginning. One of my favorite ideas is in my seminars is to go around the room, whoever's there, and say, you know, if I were waiting as a food waiter at a restaurant today, and all of you in this room were my customers, I would have really absolutely no idea, none, at who would give me the best tip or the biggest tip. I would not know who would give me the biggest tip. So therefore, the only thing I can do, and I better do it very well, is to treat each one of you equally. To treat each one of you equally. Can I do that? I don't know. Not only who's going to leave me the biggest tip, but who knows people who's going to come back next week or next month with a different group and ask to sit at my table. You know, that happens. There are repeat people and repeat customers at restaurants who want a certain waiter. And we'll wait for that person just as much as who will come back to seminars or who will go to a lawyer again. It's all in treating people equally. If I have 3 booths at a restaurant, and the best I can do is to have 4 people in each booth so that the tip can be larger because the amount of money spent will be greater. But it always doesn't work out that way. I never had 12 at one time. It would be 4, 3, and 2 or something like that. Or maybe some combination thereof. I need to treat the 2 people or the 1 person just as well as the 4 top or the 4 people. Because I don't know, I may not make as much money, but I don't know who they are, where they live, who they're related to. And so the smart thing for me to do is to feed everybody out of the same spoon, as Judge Dupree used to say in federal court. Feed everybody out of the same spoon, treat everybody the same and equally, and that's the easiest way to make money and do well. It's true that if you're representing a bank versus someone who's coming in for a speeding ticket, you're going to make more money more than likely with the bank as opposed to the individual. But the amount of effort that you put into the individual, the amount of effort and the result that you see should be as much effort as you put in to represent the bank, because they're your client. And quite frankly, it is an honor for a client to come see you, because they don't have to see you. They don't have to come. They can go elsewhere, just as you can go elsewhere and seeking silly hours. You don't have to come to my website or to see me or hear me. You can go elsewhere. So I have to treat everybody the same here. People in business should do the same. People should be empathetic and give everyone hope and treat everybody equally and the same. Being organized, making weaknesses strengths. Do you know really what I mean by that? I know if you wrote down right now 2 or 3 things that were strengths of yours, that would make you smile. But do you have weaknesses? You know, are there things that you just do not like to do or don't know how to do? Do you not know how to do the computer well? Do you not know how to do a number of things well? Do you not know how to do legal research well? Do you not know how to do certain motions well? Do you not know how to go to the courthouse well and work with people like that well? Find out what your mistakes are, what your weaknesses are, what you don't like to do, and be really good at them. Make them your strengths. One of my biggest weaknesses when I started doing this business several years ago, and even back when I was practicing law, was a lack of organization. A lack of organization. And I have worked hard to get really better at that. I'm still not as good by any stretch as I ought to be. And I'll bet you, regardless of what you may think or say, you could get better on organization yourself. What I do know is the more organized you are, the less stuff rumbles around in your head or your brain, which frees you to think about other things that you ought to be thinking about and ought to be doing. One of the ways not to live in the past, for example, is to be organized and on top of things. It will make you passionate. It will make you have more fun. You will enjoy the law practice or the legal work far more if you are organized and are on top of things than if you are not. Make weaknesses strengths. What is it you don't know how to do? Whatever it happens to be, in your personal life as well as professional life. And make it good and learn how to do something. And that is guaranteed, folks. That's just absolutely guaranteed to make you better at what you do than you now are. If there's something you don't do well and you learn to improve it, isn't that going to make you better at what you do? Of course it will be. But you can't be a Johnny one day. You just can't do it a flash in the pan. You just can't do it one time. You have absolutely got to be persistent. You have got to be persistent. You know, I've been going for years doing these seminars, and I've changed the titles a number of times, and I'm trying always to be in search of a better message, a better program than I have done before. I really am. And this one that you're watching now is the culmination of trying to be better and more topical and more current and relevant than I have been in past years. It's not just a retelling of my story, though I can do that, of course. But I want to be organized. I want to be persistent. I want to keep at it. Sometimes in my live programs, I'll go to a certain city and be very disappointed with the number of people who are there. They're wonderful people. This maybe have happened with you, but they're not as many as I'd like to have because I make more money the more people there are. Other times I go and they're great crowds. What I have learned is that I have to keep trying. I have to be persistent. I cannot change. And I have to give it my best effort every single time I do these things. I can't just skate by. I can't just paint by the numbers. I've got to be persistent. I have got to keep at it. I did not wait tables for a couple of months. I waited tables for 2 to 3 years. I have not done these seminars for a year. I've done them for more than 10 years. Just like you. You may have practiced law for a number of years. You may have been a paralegal for a number of years. You have to be persistent. You have to keep at it. Some of you have been doing it for a long time, but it will make you better if you are persistent in trying to change things to improve. If you try to get organized, find out your weaknesses. If you're persistent in that and don't quit, don't give up, don't stop trying, then you have a shot at becoming better than you are. And finally, on this topic, be willing to try new things. Be willing to try new things when there is no success guaranteed at all. Be willing to make a fool out of yourself. Be willing to fail. Be willing to be disappointed. Be willing to lose. Because it is in the taking of risks, good reasonable risks, of course, but risks, trying something with no success guaranteed, is when you're going to succeed and improve. That's when you're going to get better. And so, the one question, just one question on this first hour, that I want to ask you. What was the first thing when I started out an hour ago that I said was the first thing you should do? And that is to show up and to be on time. If you show up and be on time, if you live within your means, if you own your mistakes, if you try hard to let the past go, if you're truthful and honest and do not overpromise, and you treat everybody equally, and you're empathetic with people, you're kind to people, and you're organized and try new things with no guarantee of success, then I think, I really do believe, you'll be better at what you do than you now are. Thanks. This concludes the first hour of the seminar. Thank you.